The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
From the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, this is Legends. I'm Jason Bryant. Prepare for a journey through wrestling's past, present, and future, as we'll hear the great stories of wrestling and success from the true legends of the sport, here on Hall of Fame Legends. For those historians who refer to the 1980s as the golden age of American wrestling, Michigan native Andre Metzger shines bright as one of its stars. Starting with a 27-second win by fall in his first match in the 9th grade, Metzger wrestled an estimated 2,000 matches in freestyle, collegiate, and Greco-Roman. His 1,870 victories equate to an amazing 93% win percentage, ending with comeback attempts to make the 2012 and 2014 World and Olympic teams. His storied career spanned an incredible 5 decades. Following a stellar high school career that included a state championship, Metzger wrestled in the 1979 World Championships in San Diego, where he won the bronze medal and became the youngest American to win a medal at the World Championships at age 19, a record that stood for 36 years. Combining freestyle, Greco-Roman, and judo, Metzger changed the world of wrestling and made it more exciting to watch. He's one of the few wrestlers to have a takedown move named after him, the Metzger. Of course, if you ask Andre, he has numerous moves named after him, all of which named the Metzger. At the University of Oklahoma from 1979 to 1982, Metzger was a 4-time All-American and a 2-time NCAA champion at 142 pounds after he placed 5th and 2nd his first 2 seasons. In 1980, he made a serious bid for a spot on the U.S. Olympic team, and leading in a late-round match against 1977 NCAA champion Steve Barrett of Oklahoma State in the Olympic trials, Metzger suffered an ankle fracture that ended his Olympic hopes. In national competition, Metzger won 3 freestyle and 3 Greco-Roman AAU junior championships, as well as 5 AAU senior freestyle championships with 3 runner-up finishes. Internationally, he earned 2 silver medals, 3 bronze medals, and a 4th-place finish at the World Championships. He also captured 2 first-place championships at the Pan American Games and finished 2nd in the 1986 Goodwill Games in Moscow. For his prolific career, dedication, and contributions to the sport of wrestling, Andre Metzger is honored as a distinguished member of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame class of 2017. Distinguished member of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Andre Metzger, the man of many moves named after himself. First of all, Andre, congratulations. What's it mean to you to be enshrined as a distinguished member of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame?
It's a neat honor. I'm very excited. I really am. I think that it's something that you don't really try to win. You just actually, it's a body of work. And I understood this sport and understand the sport very well. It's a physical chess game that I think that I've helped advance. So.
Yes, and one of the stories that came out recently in the Oklahoma papers about this weekend, and the title for you was Elite Technician. What made you such an elite technician in the sport of wrestling? I
studied the sport tenaciously. I wanted to become the best. I did not want anybody to beat me. And, there's a lot of different, there's a close, to be arrogant or to be confident is very close. So many people felt like at times, because I was such a loner, I studied the sport so intensely where other people just didn't want to put that type of time in. And I did. I wanted to put the time in because I wanted to become good. Many people were beating me really just outscoring me. And, I lost my first 20 matches in freestyle and Greco, and it was a new style. And I wasn't the guy that was going to just say, I'm going to quit this style because I can't win at it. I never could do that. And like I tell people all the time, the difference between the best and the rest quit. It's just a matter of being in there and staying in there. I think the reason that I became such a great technician was because I focused on the details. Because when you do focus on the details, it's the little part of the move that makes the move work and be so responsive. For every action, there's a multiple number of reactions, not just one reaction. So when you touch somebody, you get an autonomic response immediately. In fact, if you move in on somebody, even close to them within 3 feet, they start to move. They're going to make a movement. Where you move, I have to anticipate and then I have to decide. I really believe you got 9 hands, basically. You develop where your feet, your knees, your elbows, and your head works with you in unison if you're going to hit a move right. Because you have to be in good position to lift somebody. You have to be in good position to snap somebody down, to move them to the right, to move them to the left. So
before even, to set that up, it took years of training to come up with that mindset. But let's go back in time. And you came through, and the state of Michigan at that time was producing a lot of good wrestling talent. What was the first thing that introduced you to the sport of wrestling, and what made you take to it immediately?
Well, I mean, from a standpoint of wrestling, my brother wrestled, okay? So, and he had won the conference. So he was a pretty good wrestler. But I really didn't wrestle then, although I did want to wrestle. But I got out of it. I never really did it. And I started playing basketball and doing other sports. And so what happened in wrestling, as I tell people, which is kind of weird, I got in a fight on the playground. And when I got in that fight, when I moved out of the inner city, that same person with 2 other people came up to my locker. And I thought I was going to have to fight him again when I moved to Cedar Springs, Michigan. And they asked me to play, to wrestle. And I told them I played basketball, and they said, well, you're pretty tough. I heard you beat up Scott. And I go, well, I don't know about beating him up, because I didn't want to get in another fight. I mean, I wasn't there to fight, but at the same time, I was, trying to survive, in that day and age. Of course, we didn't bring knives and guns. I mean, you had to actually just use your hands and really get in a little bit of a scrap with somebody. And I was able to do that. And then that's what got me wrestling, really. And because I played basketball, my coach was a basketball player. He allowed me to play basketball while I was wrestling, which was huge for me. But then I started figuring out I was getting better and better and better at the sport of wrestling. And success really does kind of breed success, and it inspires. And when you set goals, a goal actually is a motivator huge for you, because when you actually set a goal, you've got something in sight that you can actually move towards. And that's what really got me into wrestling, because, I knew that I don't know that I knew I wasn't good. I just knew that I wanted to score more points than the other guy, or to pin the guy. And from that standpoint, it's really pretty primitive, and it's easy to learn. But once you start getting into the technical standpoint of it and say, well, I don't want to just beat this guy. I want to dominate. I want to destroy him. I want him to quit. And I made many people quit after a while, because I had that mindset. I wasn't just learning how to wrestle, learn moves. I was learning how to destroy somebody, to pick them apart, make them quit, actually just turn over and say, I'm done.
Coming out of high school, what made you choose Oklahoma?
Well, I mean, I tell people the color all the time, because they're the same as Cedar Springs.
I'm wearing a maroon shirt right now, and it's not because of the Sooners, it's because of my alma mater, but go ahead.
Yeah, Crips of the Crew. That's exactly right. But I do, there was a lot of factors, a real lot of factors. Roger Frizzell was a factor. Jim Humphrey was a factor. Stan Abel was a factor. One of the major factors for me was Oklahoma, when they recruited me, brought me to a tournament. That's what I love to do. I love to wrestle. I mean, I wrestled so many matches early on. That's what I was used to. I mean, I was used to wrestling 20 matches, 21 matches a weekend.
Because you'd go both styles.
Yeah, I'd go both styles and two divisions. I wrestled open division. Once I started as a sophomore, I was wrestling open division all the time. So open division, and there were a lot more wrestlers in the open division, a lot more of the college wrestlers or people that were out of college were wrestling at that time, especially in Michigan. And it really was beneficial, because, I might win a medal at within the high school division, but then all at once I'd be wrestling the college division, and it would be very difficult for me to win. So it kept me inspired to beat somebody, to try to get them. And it worked. It worked for me. And, cause I had no quit in me. I really believe, like Brett Mushberger once asked me that question. He said, well, how many times you been beat? I said, I've never been beat. I really never have. I got outscored. That's it.
You may have lost a match, but you weren't beaten.
No, I was run out of time. I mean, if that guy stays on that mat with you, see, that's the thing I don't like about the rules of freestyle and Greco, where they make a rule where you get 10 points and you're done. Let me tell you something. I've been behind by 20 points and came back and beat people by points. I've been behind and pinned people, and I've been beating people and got pinned. So it's like, it just happens that way. Wrestling is a cool sport in that, and they're trying to take that away. Well, that's the influence of the Russians. That's the influence of the Iranians. That's the influence of the people that aren't willing to put in the time to get in condition besides becoming a technical, a technical person. They are elite. That's where Russia beats us so many times. Now we're getting better though. Well, our kids are learning some of that technique. And now I say kids, really it's senior world level, but our senior world levels are learning it. But if you really look at, like, for instance, Snyder, he's a grinder. He still is a grinder, and he's learned a little technique that has helped him, and he's become tenacious. And, that's one of the things that the 10-point rule is the reason I just don't like it, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it is what it is, and we got to all deal with it because we're going to wrestle it anyways.
When we look at your career and what has shaped your bust, soon to be in that granite block right down the street, the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, 4-time All-American, 3-time finals, 2-time champ. You look at the three guys that you wrestled in the finals. One is executive director Leroy Smith. So a guy that you wrestled in the finals is the guy that says, hey, did he make the call? Did he make the phone call to let you know about this?
Yeah, Leroy was one of them that called me. Yeah, it was an interesting phone call too, because as I tell people in that national finals, if you really watch the film, I didn't lose that match. But and it is funny because I say, that I ran out of time, but not in that match. I mean, if you really look at it, they took 5 points back from me, and it's all right though. Really, honestly, it's probably best. Everything happens for a reason, and it really motivated me. I mean, it's one of the few times, well, I shouldn't say a few times, because anytime I lose, I'd cry sometimes, but I actually really was very, very upset. And, it was a tough loss for me because I was ready to beat him. I mean, I beat him in his house. I beat him here. I've never been beat in Gallagher Hall. So, and I would pull it out in different places. But then the other 2 times, you got Lenny, who never won it, who probably is one of their best wrestlers ever, the University of Iowa. I mean, Lenny Zaleski was a great wrestler, but he never won it because he was in my weight class. And the funny thing is, almost every kid that beat me, when I did get beat, would get OW. I mean, it was amazing how many times that happened.
Kind of sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Man, I can't lose one match without somebody making a career out of it.
Right. And that's exactly right. I mean, so many, and there's people that tell me about them taking me down, which is great, so you get all that, but it is exciting. Like you're saying, to be in there 3 times. I really should have been in there 4 times. I really was so confident, or you can call me cocky too, when I was a freshman in this.
You still have a little swagger about you. I like it. Well,
I love it. And I think that it's very important and part of my DNA. It's what makes me, what I was. I mean, and I don't see, I fear nobody. I respect every single person. And I really, I try to treat people right. And I do realize that the work ethic that it requires to become great in this sport. And the discipline it takes is amazing. This is a sport that within the physical chess game, the physiology of it is amazing. The kinematic link, when you really learn how the body works and you really study the body, the levers that we have can create a tremendous amount of speed, motion, and energy. So, you've got potential energy and kinetic energy, whether you're working with it with gravity or whether you're working with actually your muscles moving a joint, and the speed that you can get there. And that's why I say that little things in a move are huge. And I think that's the thing about wrestling that is just amazing.
We'll go back to high school a little bit. And when you discovered you were actually getting good at it, at what point did you start calling yourself a wrestler?
Well, I mean, actually, probably almost immediately, I thought I would. It's like I tell people, if I didn't have a basketball coach for a wrestling coach when I first started, it probably would have been more difficult for me, because for somebody to try to mold me or make me do something only their way, I think that's a huge mistake for many, many coaches. So what I did, and the reason you asked me when I felt like I was a wrestler, when you give self-affirmation, when you believe in yourself, when you edify yourself, it makes a big difference. So, and I did that almost immediately. I actually, that coach allowed me to challenge, the person that was in front of me every single day. I would ask him, can I challenge today? Sure. So he'd put it out there and we'd go challenge. I challenged for 6 days in a row. Once I beat the kid, he never challenged me. So, it truly is the difference between the best and the rest. He decided to quit, but he didn't just quit the team. He didn't quit the team. He just went to the JV. But in the picture, in my Cedar Springs yearbook, when I was a freshman, I was in there as a JV wrestler, never wrestled JV, because that coach allowed me, Coach Jensen is his name. He allowed me to challenge every day, because he knew he must have saw it in me, saying, hey, this kid is tenacious. This kid has what it takes to be a great athlete. Whether or not I was going to be a great wrestler was another story. But I feel like really when I made a turn was when I lost so many matches in a row. When I lost 20 matches in a row, freestyle Greco, because I had come off a 28-7 season. Jim Emery had cut down, beat me off the team, so I never went to the districts. He ended up not placing. I really thought it was a mistake of him coming down. I was a light 98 pounder, weighed about 88 pounds. So I wasn't going to beat him that year. I beat him off the team the next year, not off the team, but made him go back up the next year. But that year that as you said, when do I feel like I really became a wrestler? I honestly believe I still learn. I'm always learning new moves. I'm very open to new moves. I'm a very innovative person. I believe that somebody that says you can't do that, that move won't work in college because of this. Right. Dream on. Let me tell you something. Any move that works is the right move at the particular time, especially if you're scoring points. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't be set up with it. And if you are making a mistake and you're doing a move where you reach another level and that guy understands that move, if I'm trying to shoot through the arms, for instance, and somebody knows how to basically block down an elbow and throw them across almost like an ogre or what you call a hip throw, but it's really not a hip throw, but that's an easy move to hit. But so if you're trying to shoot through arms, you might get away with it with certain people, but other people you won't as their level goes up. That's why you have to continue to learn and to evolve in the sport, because you'll get away with certain things and then you don't get away with them with a better person.
So you don't subscribe to the theory that when people will call a bar and a half, it's a grade school move or a short little wrist roll or the head and arm. It's a JV move or that's a middle school move.
Yeah, see, I don't
subscribe to that theory.
No, I don't. And I really think that people look, here's the deal. The Mets the way that I invented the Mets was basically a high crotch. Okay. But I also understood a headlock. So and so many people told me, well, the headlock won't work at this level, won't work. Dude, if that was the case, well, when I was a junior in college, I believe it was my junior year, it might have been, I hurt my knee really bad. Okay. So my right knee was hurt. I was taped up to a cast. So I could not shoot. That took all that offense away. So had I not had the diversity to be able to force somebody, either I had to snap them down or throw them. And these people were not that bad of wrestlers. I mean, we're talking about.
If they're at the national tournament, they're not going to be that bad.
Right. And that's another thing. I'm not responsible for my competition. So in other words, if you show up or you tell me, well, you're wrestling a second-tiered person, well, let me tell you something, dude. You can call yourself second-tiered. Or you can say, well, you wrestled that. Well, bring it on. Then you come to the tournament. Or, well, you didn't qualify for the tournament and now you're calling the person that I'm wrestling a second-tiered person. I get so fed up with hearing that all around. If you're at a tournament and you win, this is what I tell the kids all the way down from little Bambino 4-year-olds all the way up to the senior level. If you show up for a tournament and you wrestle in that dang tournament and you win that tournament, it's boom. It is just like the Olympic championship right there. It's a tournament that will build and grow on. You can build on. And if you just keep on winning, you see that confidence level comes up. And then not always, but if you get knocked down again, you learn to get up right away, and you better understand what happened to you. Now you can actually really break down what happened to me. Now today with film, the way we have film, which I broke down film a long time before. My dad would always take 16 millimeter, 8 millimeter film, and then I would look at the film, which helped me so much. I'll never forget, there's a guy by the name of Marty Espinoza that was just moving up and down, and he was causing me to move up and down because I was not watching his waist. When now I teach people, and it taught me a big lesson. You don't watch their eyes, you watch their waist, because where their waist goes is where they go. That's where all their power is anyways. And all 4 of their levels within their body come from that power of the waist.
We move forward as we talk technique. Then you get into the international level. You got a junior world medal while you were in college, 3 senior world medals. You were, on the team pretty much every other year, if not every year, in that era. What was it about freestyle and Greco-Roman that you found so engaging at the senior level?
Well, first thing is junior world. I placed in junior worlds when I was high school, when I was a junior in high school. And then I took a year off, went to Japan, and I won the nationals in Japan in Greco and took 3rd in their freestyle. I also won the nationals in Canada. So, but as far as going into college, that was when I made the level change. I actually made the level change before, because everybody told me there's going to be a big level change. In fact, all the guys that recruited me, Gable that recruited me, Abel, Chesborough, Blue Ball, Bobby Douglas, all the different coaches were saying, well, now that this level, and then we're going to go to the next level. Well, shoot, I had already reached that level. I mean, I beat Leroy when I was a junior in high school, and he was already a sophomore or freshman or sophomore in college. So to make that team, Bill Wick called me a horse, and I really took that kind of bad, but I turned it around and made it work in my favor, because he felt like I was walking through people. And really I keep in mind, I never lift weights when I was in high school, never lifted a weight. Now I did a lot of push-ups, a lot of handstand push-ups to walk down my hands, back flips, front flips, all that kind of stuff. So I was a powerful kid, but I didn't start the weight training until I got to college. So the level change that I had to do was probably get a little stronger, but I had already reached a level of confidence within myself, because I think that's the change that you make. When people say, well, we're going to make a level change, it's just a belief level. It's a belief level in the moves. It's a belief level in yourself. It's a belief level in putting together more than one move to set somebody up. So, and it's very important to understand, I really feel like affirmation or that belief level will rise as you have success within the techniques that you hit. That's why we drill. Because really, you think with your body, you move with your mind. You do not ever think with your mind or you're too late. You have to get your body moving or thinking for you. And that way you're quicker than anybody else. And you anticipate, because like I said before, the bottom line is this sport is all about understanding that for every action, there's a multiple number of reactions. Then you have what's called critical response time. You have a response to what just happened. And if you learn, if your body can actually take over, and it happens with the better wrestlers, they just take over and their body hits it and you're going, wow, that guy hit that move. And I mean, it almost looked like he did a somersault. And you do those things. You just have to, where you got to get to and where you're going to be in a stable position to make sure that you're not going to get turned or that you're not going to get flipped over the top. Because anytime you go over something, realize that that's when you're real vulnerable. If you're going under something, if you have the power to hold it, unless they can hold you down. So there's things that, it's an interesting chess game that that as you get better at it, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it sounds like everything that you've done since high school, even through your college career, your international career. Now you're coaching, and you're coaching various levels of talent. You've got a kids club in Frisco. You're also the club coach at North Texas, and they're going through a whole Greco-Roman program with the NCAA with Jim Junta. So how do you take all that knowledge, all that you're blowing me away with the knowledge and how you're explaining it, and how do you take that and explain that to a kid who is 7 years old, trying to understand wrestling and fall in love with the sport? I mean, you've got some high level knowledge here. How do you make sure that that's at a learning curve that a 7-year-old can learn, or a club kid who might have wrestled 1 year in high school is at North Texas with you?
Yeah, you're exactly, it's very, what it is, and this is, I tell people this all the time. I wish I could just give it to it through osmosis, but it can't happen. So what really has to happen is to get them to understand that in order to understand this sport, they have to learn how to stand up themselves. They can't be with anybody else. Then they have to really learn how to dance. Because if you understand dancing and if you're graceful within dancing, you understand how to put somebody into a position to where you feel comfortable enough to be able to put yourself in a powerful position to where you've got them in jeopardy. So when I break it down to a kid, I break it down to almost all levels, the simplest part. In fact, I tell them the first move I ever teach anybody is a go behind. We call it, some people call it a go behind. I call it a toro or olay. It's learning to back your, right. It's allowing that bull to go through. And one way you're allowing them to go through it, and another way you're barely stepping out of the way of it. And when you do that and you can put your hands, remember you got 9 hands. When you understand to put your hands back behind the arms, it's huge. And so many people make this mistake. It's one of the things that Snyder, when I first saw Snyder at the Olympic Training Center, when I saw him working out with one of the coaches there, I said, man, you need to put your hand here. And when he did it, he ended up doing that in the finals of the Olympics too. And that one of the other moves, if somebody doesn't do it, all you got to do is bring your elbow in tight. Now I know we can't really, visually, I could actually talk about how close it is to your abs and everything else, where your elbow comes close and then you bring your arm across your leg and it comes up and it's almost like you're in a hip throw position, which is what he did in the semis. So because the guy was trying to go behind him with the arm in front of his arm, with his hand in front of the arm. When you do that, now the guy will fall to his back. If you just bring your elbow in, and that's what he did. So when I teach a little kid, it's the same thing, how to get behind and how to push out. How to get behind and push out. In other words, control somebody all the way to where you can get behind them. Once you're behind them, it's easy to push out. So, but then you've got to teach them moves. See, the challenge with moves right now in today's day and age is you can see any of them you want on the internet. Right? We can look at the internet. We can watch this film on a fireman's carry. We can watch it on a 2-on-1. Now here's the kicker. All at once I'm watching, and many times I see this, and they make one little mistake. And if that kid that's watching that keeps making that mistake, like I said before when we were talking about myself, when I made a level change, it was all about the little things, not the big ones. It's all about making sure that hand is in the right position so that you can't get that cut to where you're in trouble. So, and it is such a difficult sport to teach because, I mean, there's the X and O sports are so much easier. I coach those sports so much easier, but it's always comes down to the confidence and to the desire of the individual. If he has desire, you'll see that he starts to advance. If he doesn't want to be there, he's not going to. So many parents push their kids. So many parents don't even realize, honestly, that what they say is like God to their kid. In other words, if I tell them, boy, you've got Freddie, and Freddie's won 5 matches, why would you set your kid up doing that? You know, you really should, I tell them parents all the time, just tell your kid, go out there, have a good time and do the best you can. If you do that and quit telling them how good the other kid is, because every time when you tell somebody else is good, well, what you do is you just take a little bit away from that kid where he starts to think more that way. And remember, thoughts are obstacles. You trip over your obstacles. And if your mind starts working, as I told you earlier in this conversation, we think with our body. If you start thinking with your mind, you're in trouble. The minute you think, well, mom said he was good, and bam, you're already scored on. Instead of just staying in there saying, hey, mom said I'm pretty good. And then boom, he doesn't even think about it. He's just wrestling.
The last thing I'm going to wrap up with is you made a comeback to wrestling, 2011, 2012, and we're not going to harp on the details that led up to you stepping away from the sport for a while, but you had an opportunity to come back and almost basically, for lack of a better term, end your career on your terms. What did that do for you in terms of maybe putting some distance between those wounds, and what did it do for you maybe mentally to say, all right, I'm ready to get back in this sport full time again?
Well, me coming back into the sport was simply because I could do it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, but as far as because I could still wrestle, I was getting in good shape. I wanted to be in good shape. And I started running and doing different things. And, today I'm in a lot better shape than I was when I tried out for the Olympics. And when I was 52, when I tried out for the Olympics, I worked out 8 hours a day. And
you were at the training center.
Yeah. I'd get up, I'd swim, I'd work out, and then I'd go to take ice bath. Then I would work out again. Then I would, go do the recovery room. In fact, one girl that I was helping said to me, hey, recovery is a workout. So I'm thinking, and she's right, because you got to sit there and do something. And now though, now I work out every day, don't have the soreness anymore because see, I do a thing called katsu, which basically it's a Japanese art of understanding additional pressure. So what I do now is I'm able to, my knees have come back, my hips have come back very strong. So I actually could wrestle freestyle now too, besides just Greco. And the reason I came back with Greco is because I didn't have the ability to squat very good. I mean, it was very difficult with my hips. I mean, I was aging, and now with Katsu, I'm back. I mean, I can sit. I mean, it's so easy for me. It's amazing to me because I work out my kids every day. And like one of the things that you pointed out earlier that we were talking about, I mean, me coming back now, it really shows me how much this sport is that physical chess game and the level changes. Cause I see it in my kids as they get better. If they can stop something or if they, even to counter something and to just not get scored on is very important. But when they can turn and they actually will try to score on me, that's when I know the kid's getting better. Because a lot of them are just in awe of, well, I got to stay back. Cause I'm still pretty tough at this sport.
Distinguished member of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. He's been a Hall of Famer for a long time now. It's official. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate you very much.
Legends is presented by the National Wrestling Hall of Fame and produced by the Matt Talk Podcast Network. If you want to hear more from wrestling's legends, contribute to this ongoing project at halloffamenelegends.org/contribute. One-time and small monthly donation options are available. We hope you've enjoyed this look into wrestling history. This has been Legends. I'm Jason Bryant.